Welcome back to Hilaal Live. We say Jazakallah to Luqman for bringing us that first half an hour of the show. Now, former ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule has been expelled by the governing party after failing to meet the deadline to make representations as to why the National Disciplinary Committee should not confirm the sanction. The decisions come days after the announcement by the Special Investigating Unit of a probe into the bursary program run by Magashule's office during his tenure as Free State Premier. Joining us now to discuss this is political analyst Sandile Swane. Mr. Swane, good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Fahraaz, and thank you to your viewers.
Mr. Swane, I mean, it was coming, wasn't it? The inevitability was always there that he was going to be shown the door by the African National Congress.
Yes, politically, he was already in conflict with Ramaphosa at the 2017 conference. At the end of that conference, their side generally lost, although he gained the office of Secretary-General. And then he said that it will only take 5 years. In 5 years' time, they are going to win against Ramaphosa. And many, like Bheki Cele, thought that it was presumptuous of him because he doesn't know what was going to happen to him within the period of 5 years. And within that 5 years, he was suspended. And he also made the mistake of trying to unilaterally suspend the president of the ANC without proper authority. He tried to suspend Cyril Ramaphosa, and that was a mistake as well.
Mr. Swane, does Ace Magashule still hold political value within South Africa? I ask this because what is there beyond the ANC for him right now?
Yeah, I think we can rephrase your question in a different way and put it from an ANC perspective, which is to say it is cold outside the ANC. Now, that attitude no longer holds water. At the time that General Bantu Olomisa left the ANC, probably it was cold outside the ANC, but I think from a moral perspective, it was warmer for Olomisa outside the ANC than in the ANC in terms of his personal morals. And then the likes of Cope came. Cope came with a bang, but had poor leadership, and then it became cold for them. But Malema and the EFF have changed the political landscape completely. It is now red and hot outside the ANC. And the movements by Jimmy Manyi, very recently, Mzwanele Manyi from ATM to the EFF, shows you that those who leave the ANC have now got a menu. That menu has got ATM and has got EFF, and then at a lower level, it has got COPE, it has got UDM, and others, maybe even Al-Jamaa, and so on and so forth. So there is a menu. Your career doesn't end when you leave the ANC, not anymore.
You speak about that, and I mean, two names that you've just mentioned there, of course, Julius Malema and Mzwanele Manyi, I mean, being two, who, of course, the one started the EFF and the other one joined the EFF as recent. Looking at the ideologies, the political ideologies of Magashule, wouldn't it be convenient for him to maybe make that move into the EFF, or would a new party like an ATM maybe sway him to come and join them to bring them some sort of relevance heading into the elections next year?
I think that the way I look at these parties, the ATMs, the EFFs, and so on, in many ways, these are ideologically, they are rooted in the ANC traditions, including on the part of the EFF, the traditions of the PAC, which also came out of the ANC by the way. So, and what has happened in the meantime is that I think it has been said by many people that the Freedom Charter, anybody can take the Freedom Charter and use it as a basis for their political party. I don't see the ATM as a major, ideologues and die-hard people of a particular ideology. I think the broad mass democratic ideology is welcome within them. But the strong economic message of Magashule would probably resonate quite well with EFF. And I think the visit to Free State, he made a very powerful statement from the Free State, this Julius Malema, that people in the Free State must know for sure that the ANC is dead. It died when Magashule left, and they must now move to the EFF. It may well be in the days that are coming or the months that are coming, you see Malema and Magashule sharing the stage in the Free State and challenging the ANC.
Well, of course, that did happen a couple of years ago when they were at an event together. That time, Ace Magashule was still the SG of the party. Mr. Swane, I want to talk of RET, or the so-called RET. They gave a good challenge towards Ramaphosa's faction. It's safe to say that they finally did.
No, they are not. The struggles that you are seeing in KZN, for instance, where Ramaphosa sent to BC there to take over the eThekwini municipality and try to bring it to life and this and the other thing, they basically chased him away. So the Zuma, if you want to call it that, the Zuma RET type forces are alive, and they are alive within the NEC of the ANC and the ANC more generally. What you can try to argue is whether they are 25% or 40% in the ANC. That's the only argument you can take. They are there and they are alive. And there are serious questions that they have legitimate points to raise. For instance, the Black community generally, and the worst affected being the colored communities and the African communities in terms of poverty, it has worsened. The educational outcomes in colored townships and the chaos in El Dorado and other places and elsewhere in the Black African townships and so on. So they've got points, real points where the Ramaphosa regime has actually failed and failed dismally. And not to say that when they were in power, some of them like Zuma, they did a job better than Ramaphosa in the true sense, because the failure started in their term of office.
One final question, Mr. Swane. Ramaphosa's eliminated all of those who could potentially be seen as a threat or a resistance towards him. Magashule is just another name on that list. He's done quite well, hasn't he, to try and get them away, even though there have been question marks on how it has been done?
Yes, in terms of him eliminating his opponents, that is a success of some sort. And also, he has chased others away, others he has co-opted, the likes of Nomvula Mukonyane, to a degree, he's co-opted them. And in the process of co-opting many of them, it does mean that the ways of thinking, including corruption and so on, have been largely retained in the ANC, as Advocate Pretorius of the Zondo Commission very recently stated at the University of Pretoria Business School, Gibbs, where he said that since the Zondo Commission closed, the state has assumed more and more characteristics of the mafia. So state capture continues under Ramaphosa, even though he has fired what we would have thought are the proponents of state capture. And lastly, you and I have not received any improved service delivery. The lights are going out. Water is becoming scarce. I'm waiting for a 5-day water outage in my area where I live. So things have gotten worse, actually.
Yeah, you could say that again. Service delivery, electricity crisis. No real change to that. Mr. Swane, we'd like to say thank you so much for joining us here on Hilaal Live.
Thank you so much.
That's Sandile Swane, political analyst, talking to us about where now is the future for Ace Magashule. It is cold outside the African National Congress, but it may just be red hot, as Mr. Swane had mentioned. Coming up is your news.